Significant severe weather, a tropical cyclone, and a major heat wave are all three talking points in today's weather forecast. Hey everybody, welcome back. If you are new here, we are doing straightforward weather forecasts that are accurate and reliable across southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics. You like type of weather videos like that are straightforward, reliable, and accurate. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. Getting into the severe weather portion of the forecast, we have an enhanced risk of severe weather across central Nebraska today. That is a 3 out of 5 on the risk scale, and yellow surrounding that up there into eastern South Dakota, central Minnesota, including the Twin Cities, up there into northern Wisconsin, and the western UP of Michigan. Also in Wyoming, that is a slight risk of severe weather where scattered severe thunderstorms are possible. And then in the dark green, especially even down here in southeastern Arizona, that is a marginal risk of severe weather, a 1 out of 5 on the risk scale. Isolated severe thunderstorms are possible in the dark green. Main threats are going to be damaging straight line winds. They could be in excess of 75 miles per hour here in central Nebraska this afternoon and evening, and that could topple over trees and create lots of power outages. And we are also looking at the threat for large hail that could be up to golf ball size, stretching from central Nebraska all the way up into northern Wisconsin, western UP of Michigan. And then the tornado threat is low, but it's non-zero and green up there into the western UP and getting into northern Wisconsin. Eastern portions of Minnesota, we have the threat of a 2% chance of tornadoes, and same deal here in southeastern South Dakota into Nebraska. That's where we have a 2% chance of tornadoes within a 25-mile radius of any given point in or around this area. So let's focus in here on the enhanced risk area in the central U.S. We'll move to the eastern U.S. and then the western U.S. and talk about that. First, here in the central United States at noon, things are quiet outside of a few showers, rumbles of thunder up here in the Dakotas, northern Minnesota, same deal in central Texas, maybe a rumble of thunder or two in southern Missouri. As we go into the mid-afternoon hours, we're going to watch the development of a broken line of some intense thunderstorms developing from Lake Superior all the way southwestward into western and central Nebraska. The storms here in South Dakota and Nebraska will be the strongest in that enhanced risk area. Damaging winds with this line could actually be in excess of 75 miles per hour this afternoon, and heading into the evening hours, that will shift slowly off to the east and southeast, including the Lincoln area, approaching Omaha on a weakening trend overnight tonight after midnight, so 2-3 o'clock in the morning. An outflow boundary from that in what we call an MCV, a mesoscale convective vortex, which is a mini low pressure system on the mesoscale, could be approaching western Iowa and the Des Moines area as we go into the wee hours of the morning on Wednesday. Looking here at the eastern United States, pretty quiet outside of a couple showers down there into the Carolinas and the east coast of Florida with an ocean breeze down there. And we are actually looking at more of a isolated to widely scattered variety of thunderstorms across the southeastern U.S. primarily this afternoon. 1 or 2 of these could produce some gustier winds, 40 or 50 miles per hour, some smaller hail, but of course locally heavy downpours. But once the sun sets, we're going to see the instability wane and the storm coverage and intensity wane with those storms after especially the midnight hour heading into Wednesday morning. The western U.S. watching for some light to moderate showers, some rumbles of thunder up here into Montana here at noon. That will continue for most of the afternoon as we have a rainy day set up for Montana. Thunderstorms here in the monsoonal flow from Arizona into Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, and western New Mexico will get going this afternoon. Peak daytime heating, and that will promise some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Again, it's scattered, not everybody will see them, but some heavier downpours will be possible. Some stronger thunderstorms there into central Wyoming are possible this evening. That could produce wind gusts of 60 miles per hour, some quarter-size hail, and a very low tornado risk there as well. Heading into tomorrow on Wednesday, July 16th, slight risk of severe weather where scattered severe thunderstorms are possible, including southern and southeastern Wisconsin into north central Illinois, including the Madison, Milwaukee areas down into Chicago, Rockford, and even Peoria back to the Davenport, Iowa area. And then in the dark green, that's a marginal risk, 1 out of 5 on the risk scale here from portions of Michigan all the way back into eastern Colorado and southeastern Wyoming, into the central plains of Nebraska, Kansas, into Iowa and northern Missouri as well, where isolated severe thunderstorms are possible there in the dark green. Main threats tomorrow will be damaging winds 60 to 70 miles per hour on an isolated to scattered basis. Hail is not going to be a big deal tomorrow. It's going to be very warm, so the hail growth is going to be limited, especially across the Midwest and Great Lakes. But over here into Colorado, into the panhandle of Nebraska, southeastern Wyoming, we could be seeing up to quarter-size hail. And there is a tornado threat tomorrow into the Madison, Milwaukee areas, Chicago on westward, so Aurora, Naperville, Rockford, back down into Davenport and Princeton into Peoria. That is where we have a 2% chance of tornadoes there across southern Wisconsin and north central Illinois on Wednesday. Let's look at this here. Wednesday morning, there's going to be an MCV we talked about previously, a mesoscale convective vortex. It's a mini low pressure system on the mesoscale. It's smaller than your ordinary low pressure system, and it's due to thunderstorm activity from the plains this evening into overnight. That'll be pushing eastward, and then as we go through the day, that MCV is actually going to act as a mechanism to produce more storms as it approaches the Mississippi River by early tomorrow afternoon into eastern Iowa, northeast Missouri. And then some of those storms could be maturing as they push into southern Wisconsin and north central Illinois, producing that severe weather that we talked about, damaging winds, some large hail, and an isolated tornado or two. And then as we go through the evening hours, a cluster of some thunderstorms from central and southern Iowa through portions of Nebraska, Kansas, into the Oklahoma panhandle could be kind of training over the same areas a little bit, and we could have some locally heavy downpours over there as we go through Thursday morning. Looking at the eastern U.S. tomorrow at 7 a.m., we're going to see some thunderstorms perhaps into the Ohio Valley of Indiana and Ohio, Indianapolis, Dayton, down there towards Cincinnati and Louisville. Be keeping an eye on that if you're heading out to work tomorrow morning. As we go to the midday hours, we're going to see those thunderstorms grow in intensity up here into the mid-Atlantic, into portions of eastern Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and northern Virginia. As we go into the late afternoon and into the early evening hours, locally heavy downpours will be most likely there, but a couple gusty thunderstorms with gusty winds and some hail are possible. And then again, here in the western U.S. tomorrow, still raining in southeastern Montana, northeastern Wyoming, and then as we go through the midday hours, that'll push further to the east. Monsoonal flow will activate during the afternoon and evening, mainly for the Four Corners region, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, some locally heavy downpours here. And again, scattered thunderstorms. Not everybody will see them as we go through the day on Wednesday. Thursday comes along late this week on July 17th. And look at this. Actually, no severe weather forecast from the Storm Prediction Center. And it's just a general thunderstorm risk here in the light green. If you're in the white, you're not expecting any thunderstorms on Thursday. The reason being is because we have a strong cold front for mid-July standards that's going to push a lot of cooler air further to the south from Canada into the north central United States. And look at this in green and lighter blues. That is around 25 to 30 degrees below normal of what our temperatures should be there for Thursday, July 17th. So here comes the cold front today. On Tuesday, July 15th, we're going to be seeing a lot of 90s, triple digits across the central southern plains and along the Gulf Coast. It's going to be hot in the desert Southwest, as you can expect in the desert. And again, the upper Midwest is going to be in the upper 80s, but the corn sweat, the higher dew points, are going to lead to higher heat index values near 100 this afternoon. But look at the cold front there into North Dakota, northern Minnesota, Montana, and yeah, where it's raining in Montana, it's rain cooled air, and that's going to continue to shift further south and east. In fact, record cool highs across much of the upper Midwest, northern plains, and northern Rockies as we go into tomorrow afternoon, barely getting to 70 degrees, and likely a lot of areas in the mid-60s for highs. And then as we go into Thursday, I mean, can it get any better than this? Chicago 76, 76 in Milwaukee, 74 in Des Moines, and 72 in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Where the heat will be is across the west or the southeastern U.S. there on Thursday. And then we'll start to moderate our temperatures back here a little bit for the weekend into the upper 70s to mid-80s for the north central U.S. So yeah, during the day, it's going to be cooling off with the strong cold front. At night as well, look at our lows as we go into Thursday morning. We're going to be seeing 40s up here across a large chunk of the Dakotas and the Black Hills, all the way over there into the upper Midwest, including the Arrowhead of Minnesota. And then that will continue into Friday, more 50s for lows, before our lows get back in the 60s and 70s as we start to warm up those mornings, as we warm up those days as well into the weekend. Now let's look at the jet stream orientation for the weekend upcoming, because this is a transition period between our strong cold front late in the week and our warming trend we'll see next week. And you can see the jet stream is providing a disturbance in the atmosphere up here across the upper Midwest this weekend, and it's going to have plenty of storm energy with it on Friday across the mid-Mississippi Valley, shifting more into the upper Mississippi Valley region on Saturday, July 19th. Pretty high storm energy values for Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana there. And we have to keep an eye on this threat. So on the European model from last night, it is actually showing that more so Friday night, the chance for some scattered severe thunderstorms across much of the Midwest into the western Ohio Valley and southwest Great Lakes region. This would be an overnight setup, so heavy rainfall would actually be the main threat with some frequent lightning, but some smaller hail, some gusty winds, and a very small tornado threat could result in this. According to the European model, the GFS model, on the other hand, actually doesn't have much happening on Friday night, has a complex of storms developing up to the Wisconsin to the north and Minnesota on Saturday afternoon, dropping southeast through the Chicagoland into the areas of northern Indiana and southwestern lower Michigan as we go into Saturday evening. This would be arriving in peak daytime heating and not overnight like Friday, like the European model was showing. This could be packing a bit of a punch, so it comes down to the timing and the location and everything here as all the ingredients have to come together, but damaging winds would be more likely on the GFS model, and training thunderstorms with some flash flooding across northern Illinois as well. Nonetheless, as we go through the next 7 days, so this is Sunday, July 20th through the following Sunday, July 27th, a big ridge of high pressure going to build across the central U.S. and will be baking underneath of that from Kansas, Missouri, southward to the Gulf Coast. And that means temperatures are going to be rising very quickly. Here's Monday, July 21st, 90s, triple digits across much of the South Central Plains. And we just see that on a daily basis as we go through that weekend time frame, the following weekend, right? The 26th, 27th of July. And the corn sweat, the high moisture content will continue. This is prime time for the corn crops and soybeans for giving off moisture, the transpiration of that, and dew points will be well into the 70s, even into the low to mid 80s. And that means we're going to crank out those heat index values on a daily basis, even up into the Midwest, into the triple digits, and possibly well over that, into the 110, even 115 range at times, including big cities like Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis, Tulsa, Little Rock, Memphis, even the Dallas-Fort Worth area as well. Now, the jet stream next week going to be very important because we're going to have a big ridge, and over the top, the apex of that ridge, we're going to have what we call ridge riders, and that's those thunderstorm complexes that are real nasty here in late July that we can kind of get sometimes in the Midwest, and they could be derechos, okay? That's why we call them nasty thunderstorms. Derechos produce widespread wind damage, sometimes hurricane force over 75 or even over 100 miles per hour because they produce a lot of wind energy, a lot of hail, embedded tornadoes, and torrential rainfall. And that corridor is focused from the Dakotas into Minnesota, Wisconsin, eastern Iowa, into much of Illinois, into Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania, all the way to Maryland there in the mid-Atlantic. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on that corridor as we go into the 20th through 27th time frame of July. And you can see that corridor is focused here on the week 2 accumulated supercell composite parameter map. Notice it's really from Iowa, Wisconsin, down into northern Illinois where that is most focused here on the map. So we'll be continuing to watch this corridor especially closely into next week. Turning over to the tropics, there is something to talk about here over the peninsula of Florida and into the northern and northeastern Gulf. A 40% increased odds from yesterday, up from 30 to 40%. And this means a tropical cyclone, whether it's a tropical depression, tropical storm, or hurricane, could develop over the next 7 days, according to the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. So let's look at this here. Two models. The European model is showing a weaker signal, but actually has strengthened its signal a little bit over the past 24 hours, maybe probably trying to get to a tropical depression and then a tropical storm, and if not anything, very heavy rain. So we got to watch for very heavy rain from New Orleans all the way over the Big Bend of Florida and into Tampa Bay with this system. And then the GFS is very disorganized as well. But as you know, the waters are very warm in the Gulf right now, especially those shelf waters closer to the coast. And that means that this storm could rapidly intensify, even greater than the models are showing right now. So again, it's important not to take a lot of stock in the models right now. It's still a few days out, but something to keep an eye on as this moves westward from the peninsula of Florida back over the open waters and the warm waters we just mentioned of the Gulf. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And the East Pacific right now, nothing happening over the next 7 days. Been a very active start to the hurricane season in the East Pacific Ocean. It is inactive right now. So that's some great news for Mexico, the Baja, and everywhere, even Hawaii out there in the Central Pacific Ocean. So thank you all for watching. watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We do straightforward, accurate, reliable weather information. Like the video, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it throughout. Share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. And hey, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, jot that down in the comment section down below this video. We are here 24/7, all day, all night to answer any and all questions that you may have about the weather forecast ahead. Thank you all, everybody. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you all in the next video.